Alright, so I recorded this video before, but the audio didn't record, so I'm doing it again. But it's probably going to be better this second time around. So in this mindset section, I want to talk about the difference between two ways that you make money in crypto, yield and delta. Now, these are the only two ways that you can make money in crypto, okay? There's no other way you can make money. It was either something that gave you a yield, which made you money, or you made money from the delta. Now, let me get into explaining what is the difference between yield and delta. So in crypto, right, there's all these things like, I'll give you some examples. Mining farms, yield farming, staking, liquidity providing. All of these things here are examples of ways you can basically put your money to work for you, and in return, you receive a yield. And the whole thing is a yield-bearing scheme, right? That is how you make money from yield. You put your money into let's say a mining farm, you mine cryptocurrency, the money's sort of working for you, you get a % yield every year, right? That is yield, okay? Now, the other way you make money from crypto is from delta. Now, if you Google delta, it's a really complicated, nuanced, sophisticated word. Now, I want to make it really simple for you guys. The idea of this course is to make it, digestible by anyone. So I'm not going to give you that definition. I'm going to give you my definition of delta, which is basically the price change of the asset. So you make money through delta from the price of the asset changing. So it's about the appreciation of an asset from buying it at X price and selling it at Y. So delta would be buying it here and then selling it here, right? The price change of the asset, okay? So what is better? Is it better to do yield or is it better to do delta? Well, it depends on your personal preference. It also depends how much money you're working with. If you have $10 million, obviously a 5% per year return is a good return on $10 million. That's like $500K a year, right? Now, if you have $10,000 in the bank, maybe a 5% return isn't so nice. So maybe you'd rather make money with delta. So it depends mostly on that. Now, in crypto, I think you have two choices, right? You either do both of these. Now, if you're watching this video, you don't have 10 million in the bank. So obviously, you either do both of these or you just do delta, right? If you're watching this course, you don't have 10 million. But let's say you're watching this course and you have $10 million. You could, if you wanted to, just do yield. But I actually, for most yield schemes in crypto, I don't think you should even consider, even if you had $10 million in the bank. And I'm going to explain to you why in this video. So for me, what do? I only do delta. I think yield is a waste of time and I hate the concept of yield. All I do is delta. So in simple terms, the way that you can look at it is when you chase yield, you're basically trying to make passive income. And when you do delta, you're trying to do long-term investing. It's a more active form of income, right? This doesn't require you to do much work. This is more active, right? You have to actively be looking where to buy and sell. And it's more in the form of the investing side, okay? But what you can also do is obviously you can have a long-term investment and you can earn passive income on it. So what you could do is you could buy Cardano here, or let's say you bought Binance coin, for example, and then you come over here to Binance, you go to staking, BNB gives you 8.5% per year, right? So you have the long-term investment of BNB and you earn, interest on it. So you could do both if you wanted to, but I don't, even if, let's say I have $1 million in crypto, which I do, right? I could technically put $1 million and earn 8% a year on it and make a full-time wage, but I don't think it's worth my time. And I'm going to tell you why in this video. So the reason why I don't like yield is there is inherent risk with pursuing passive income from your investments in crypto. So these are all the risks associated with yield, chasing yield. So there's smart contract risk. So for example, if you're using a DeFi, a decentralized finance application, where you basically lend your money, you're using smart contracts to facilitate this process, right? What happens if the smart contract breaks? Well, you lose all your money. Now, another example, this is a really important one. This is the main one, in my opinion. When you do yield-based activities, your money's locked. generally. You can't move it. You can't sell the coin. You can't do anything. You're locked. Okay? So potentially, if your money's locked for a long period of time, you will not be able to take profit on your investments at the optimal time. So for example, if you go to Binance, you deposit BNB, it's locked for 30 days. You cannot do anything for 30 days. You're stuck. Now, what happens if your system tells you in your investing system to take profit? Well, maybe BNB price drops 20% before you could sell. Now you've earned, 8% on your money, but you just lost 20%. So congratulations, you played yourself, right? There's also platform risk. So what happens if Binance collapses? You know, a lot of people had money on FTX and they were lending it, right? Staking it. Now the money's gone. And obviously, a lot of them are probably going to get it back. But still, what happens if you never get your money back, right? It's a risk. And there's also liquidity risk. So if you go to Uniswap, for example, you can do what's called liquidity providing. So on Uniswap, when you swap between tokens, it's all decentralized, right? If I have Ethereum and I go to this coin, USDT, it's not someone selling USDT to go to ETH, right? You don't just have someone on the other side that you swap into. What they have is pools of money. So if I want to do 1 ETH to USDT, they might have $1 million of USDT that they allow to be swapped to ETH. And then when someone goes from, the other way, let's say they do this, right? Then they've got $1 million of ETH to then swap into USDT. So they have these things called liquidity pools, right? And the problem with these liquidity pools is sometimes issues come up and the liquidity pool gets drained and your money gets worth zero. So there's liquidity risk with a lot of these pools where you could lose everything. So 3 out of 4 of the risks I just went over, and there's probably more, if they were to occur, you would lose all of your money. So you have 100% risk of loss. So let's say you have $10 million in the bank and you decide to do liquidity providing on Uniswap and stuff, or any sort of yield activity. 3 out of the 4 risks will lose you $10 million. So you have to realize, even if you're rich, you have a chance of losing all your money, so it's not nice, okay? Now, obviously, the chance of losing all your money is low, but there has been a lot of hacks and billions of dollars lost to issues related to yield, okay? So you don't want to be grouped with those people. So yeah, you have to look at it from a risk to reward ratio, right? You collect, a 5-10% yield every year on your money, and you could lose all of your money. So you take full risk of your money just to make 10% a year, just to slightly outperform inflation. Terrible risk to reward ratio. So this is how you need to look at the market instead. This is why you need to avoid yield. So the best yield is actually price go up. So what you need to focus on is, can capital growth with so basically, ignore the first bit. The idea is that when low growth, okay, I'm going to read the whole thing. It's a little bit simpler. Can this bring capital growth with anticipation that it could or will produce yield, and then when it has low growth potential, sell it to the incomers at a massive premium for safe yield, which is in fact as safe as a 3% yield on pesos? So I'm going to explain what he means here, because it is. I saw this the other day and I was like, yep, that's exactly how this space sort of works. So the biggest problem with passive income people in crypto is they underestimate the risk of collecting a small yield on an asset with huge downside risk. As we just explained, you make 5%, but you lose everything. It's terrible. They don't take profit at optimal times as, I'm making tons of passive income now. If I sell, I won't make passive income anymore. Right? A lot of people, let's say they 20x their money on Cardano. They've now got $1 million. They put 50K in, it's 20x'd. They got $1 million. They're making all this money from passive income. They won't sell Cardano because of how much passive income they're making. But what they fail to realize is any growth in capital, right, is actually also a form of yield. So what I just said was you either make money from yield or delta. But delta is also a form of yield. If you buy a coin at $1 and you sell it at $2, the yield was essentially, in a way, 200%. Right? That's another way you can look at it. So what they fail to recognize is that the value of the asset going up and down is a form of yield. So if you buy a coin at $1 and you sell it at $2, like I